I didn't actually forget my anniversary. I pretended to. And that one decision changed everything. If I'm being honest, the worst part isn't what I did that night. It's how normal it felt while I was doing it. Because nothing about it started as something big. No dramatic fight, no sudden betrayal. Just small things. The kind that don't feel important at first, but slowly build into something you can't ignore anymore. Her name was Ava. We'd been together for 3 years. 3 years of routines. 3 years of knowing exactly how each other thinks, what each other likes, what each other expects. And for a long time, that felt like comfort. But somewhere along the way, it started to feel like something else. Predictable. Not bad. Not toxic. Just expected. We knew what our conversations would sound like before they even happened. We knew how our weekends would go before they started. Even our anniversary was already planned in a way that felt more like a schedule than a surprise. Dinner at the same place, same kind of conversation, same ending. And the truth is, I didn't hate it, but I also didn't feel anything new anymore. That's where it started. Not with cheating, not with lies, with a feeling. A quiet thought that showed up one day and didn't leave. Is this it? I ignored it at first, because it felt wrong to even think like that. Ava wasn't a bad partner. She cared. She was consistent. She showed up. Everything you're supposed to want. But feelings don't always follow logic. And that's something I didn't fully understand until it was too late. Be honest. Can a relationship be good, but still not feel right anymore? Comment yes or no. Then I met her. It wasn't planned. It wasn't intentional. It just happened. Her name was Lila. And the first thing I noticed about her wasn't how she looked. It was how different she felt. The conversations didn't feel predictable. The silence didn't feel awkward. Everything felt new. And that's what caught me off guard. Because I wasn't looking for something new. At least, that's what I told myself. At first it was harmless. Just conversations, casual interactions, nothing serious. Nothing that crossed a line. But lines don't get crossed all at once. They move slowly, one step at a time. And you don't even realize it until you're already past them. I started looking forward to seeing her, more than I should have. I started noticing small things. The way she talked, the way she laughed, the way she looked at me like she didn't already know everything about me. And that feeling, it was addictive, because it reminded me of something I hadn't felt in a long time. Uncertainty. And strangely, that felt exciting. At the same time, I knew what this was turning into. I wasn't stupid. I knew this wasn't just nothing. But instead of stopping it, I let it continue, because a part of me didn't want it to end. That's the truth most people don't say out loud. Sometimes, you see the mistake coming, and you still walk toward it. Moral conflict. If you know something is wrong, but it makes you feel alive, do you stop or keep going? Comment stop or keep going. Days passed, then weeks, and slowly, that harmless connection started turning into something more. Not physically, not yet, but emotionally, I was already somewhere I shouldn't be. I started hiding things, small things at first, conversations I didn't mention, moments I didn't share, nothing that looked big from the outside, but enough to create distance. Ava noticed it. Of course she did. She didn't say it directly, but I could feel it in the way she looked at me sometimes, like she was trying to understand something that didn't make sense. Are you okay? She asked one night. Simple question, but it hit harder than it should have. Yeah, just tired, I replied. That was the first real lie. Not big, not dramatic, but important, because it made everything else easier. After that, lying didn't feel like a line anymore. It felt like a tool, and I used it, more than I should have. Then the anniversary came closer. 3 years. A date that was supposed to mean something. Ava had already started planning it, talking about where we should go, what we should do. She was excited, and I wasn't. Not because I didn't care, but because my mind was somewhere else, with someone else. That's when the idea came to me. At first, it felt ridiculous, something I immediately pushed away. But the more I thought about it, the more it made sense. What if I just didn't acknowledge it? No reminder, no plan, no mention. Just act like I forgot. It sounded simple, harmless even, but it wasn't. Because that decision wasn't about forgetting. It was about creating space. Space to do something I knew I shouldn't be doing. Space to see someone else. On the same day I was supposed to celebrate the person I was already with. That's when it stopped being a thought and became a plan. Do you think pretending to forget something important is worse than actually cheating? Or not? The day finally came, our anniversary. And I woke up, said nothing, did nothing, acted like it was just another normal day. And the moment I did that, I knew something had already changed inside me. Because forgetting is one thing, but pretending? That's a choice. And I had just made it, without fully understanding what it would cost me. Because that night, I wasn't going to be with Ava. I was going to be with someone else. And I had a feeling. This was going to go further than I was ready for. If you were in Ava's place, how would you react if someone forgot your anniversary? That night, everything started to fall apart. And the worst part? It was all because of something I did on purpose. The morning felt normal. Too normal. Ava was humming in the kitchen, making breakfast like she always did. I smiled at her, pretended everything was fine, but inside, my mind was already elsewhere. Lila. I kept thinking about her. Every little detail, her laugh, the way she leaned in when she talked, the small touch on my arm the last time we met. And suddenly, the thought of spending the day with Ava felt heavier than it should have. Because it wasn't just guilt that made it heavy, it was anticipation. I was waiting for something I wasn't supposed to feel. And the longer I stayed with Ava, pretending, the stronger it got. Every smile felt fake, every conversation a performance, even the little things she did to make me happy. I couldn't feel them the way I used to. And that realization, it scared me more than anything. Because I knew that night, everything would change. I left the apartment around mid-afternoon. Ava waved goodbye, smiling. I waved back, acted normal. The moment I stepped outside, the real world hit me. Lila was waiting. We met at a small cafe tucked in the corner. Nothing dramatic, nothing public, just us. I sat across from her, and suddenly, everything felt dangerous. The air between us was thick. Not uncomfortable, not awkward. Electric. We started talking. At first, small things. How's your week been? Did anything interesting happen? But soon, the conversation turned personal. More intimate. We talked about things I had never told anyone. My fears, my insecurities, the things I felt but couldn't say to Ava. And she listened. Really listened. No judgment. No advice. No expectations. Just understanding. And that understanding made me feel alive in a way I hadn't in years. I noticed how close our knees were under the table, how our hands brushed when we reached for our drinks. Little things. Things that shouldn't matter. But suddenly, they mattered more than anything. I could feel the line, the one I wasn't supposed to cross. But at that moment, I didn't care. Because everything else felt muted. Every warning in my mind, every memory of Ava, faded. And that's when it happened. A small smile. A look that lingered too long. A hand that almost touched mine. It wasn't planned. It wasn't intentional. But it was there. And I felt it. Something in me shifted. Excitement, fear, desire, all at once. We laughed at something silly, and our hands finally touched. A spark. A shock. And I knew. There was no turning back from that touch. Have you ever felt a spark with someone you shouldn't? Did you act on it or pull back? Comment acted or pulled back. We left the cafe. The streets felt different. Every step closer to the apartment where Ava waited made my chest tighten, because I knew the next part of the day was going to be the hardest. And yet, I didn't stop. I went along with it. We walked to a small park nearby, no one around, just the two of us. And there, the first real kiss happened. It was brief, soft, tentative, but enough to make everything else meaningless, because that kiss broke something inside me. It wasn't about love, not really. It was about wanting, desire, the forbidden, and that's what made it addictive. I knew it was wrong. I knew Ava would never forgive it if she knew, but in that moment, I didn't care. We parted quickly, acted like nothing happened, but the memory lingered. Every step back to my car, every glance at Lila, I couldn't stop thinking about it. And when I finally returned home, Ava asked, "Did you have a good day?" I smiled, said yes, and that lie felt heavier than the kiss, because now there was no undoing it. The first step was taken, the line had been crossed, and the rest of the night, I could feel it creeping closer. The guilt, the thrill, the fear of being caught, all of it, and it was just the beginning. If you were me, would you continue seeing someone else after pretending to forget your anniversary, or stop before it goes too far? The evening came faster than I expected. Ava had set up everything. Candles, music, the little bouquet of flowers she knew I liked. Everything perfect. And I was driving in silence, thinking about Lila, thinking about the cafe, thinking about that kiss. I felt a knot in my chest. It wasn't just guilt. It was anticipation. A mix of fear and desire that made my hands shake. I parked outside our apartment building, took a deep breath, walked inside. Ava smiled when she saw me. "Hey," she said, her eyes lighting up. I smiled back, acted normal. But inside, everything was racing. I kept replaying that kiss, the softness of her lips, the warmth, the electricity. I tried to push it away, but it wouldn't leave. Not even for Ava. Dinner started. We talked about our week, the usual topics, but my mind wandered. I imagined Lila next to me instead, and the more I thought about it, the more I wanted it. I wanted the forbidden, and I knew it was dangerous. Ava noticed something. Her smile faltered for a moment, a look in her eyes that made me freeze. "Are you okay?" she asked. I forced a smile. "Yes, just tired from work," I lied. She didn't press, but I could feel it. She knew something was off, and that made me even more reckless. After dinner, I said I needed to step out. "I'll be back soon," I told her. She nodded, and I walked out, heart pounding. Lila was waiting. She had a small smile on her face. "Ready?" she asked. I nodded. We didn't say much as we walked, because the tension, the anticipation, it was enough. We found a quiet spot, and this time, the kiss wasn't brief. It was long, deep. Every second made my chest tighten. My mind screamed at me, "Stop, this is wrong," but my body ignored it, ignored everything else. I had wanted this, more than I should have. And in that moment, there was no turning back. The world disappeared. There was only her lips, her hands, her eyes. It was intoxicating and horrifying at the same time, because I could feel the weight of what I was doing, the line I had crossed, and the consequences I would face. But I didn't care. Not at that moment. After we finally pulled apart, I felt something shift inside me. Not just desire, not just excitement. Fear. Fear that Ava would notice. Fear that I was losing control. Fear that I might ruin everything. And yet, I wanted more. The rest of the evening was a blur. I came home late. Ava was waiting. "Where have you been?" she asked softly. I forced another lie. "Just had to run some errands." Her eyes narrowed slightly, but she let it go, and I breathed a quiet sigh of relief. But relief was temporary, because now, the thrill was gone, and I was left with something worse. Guilt. And the knowledge that I had just made it easier to do it again. If you were caught lying about your day to someone who trusts you, would you confess immediately, or wait? The next few days, everything felt tense. I couldn't look at Ava without thinking about Lila. I couldn't sit with Lila without thinking about Ava. The double life was suffocating. And yet, I kept going. Because every moment with Lila felt alive. And every moment with Ava felt like a cage. Until one evening, it all came crashing down. Ava had planned a small party with friends. Nothing big. Just a few people. But I knew it was going to be impossible to hide the truth now. Because Lila wanted to meet me that night too. And I couldn't say no. The first confrontation was coming. Even if no one knew it yet. Would you risk everything for a forbidden connection, knowing the fallout is coming? The night of the party arrived, and I could feel the weight of every choice I had made pressing down on me. Ava was radiant, laughing with her friends, moving through the room like she owned the space, completely unaware of the storm I carried inside me. I smiled and nodded along with everyone, but my mind kept drifting to Lila, to the cafe, to that kiss that had ignited everything I wasn't supposed to feel. I tried to focus on Ava, tried to convince myself that tonight was just another celebration. But it wasn't. Every laugh I heard from her, every touch, every glance, reminded me of the lie I had been living, the double life that now threatened to collapse. I felt like a tightrope walker, balancing over a chasm I couldn't see the bottom of, knowing one misstep could ruin everything. As the night progressed, I could sense Ava's subtle questions, the way she tilted her head just slightly when she looked at me, the soft, almost imperceptible pauses before she asked about my day. She was noticing something. I knew it. My heart pounded every time she smiled, every time she touched my arm, as if she could sense I was elsewhere, that a part of me already belonged somewhere else. Then I saw her, Lila, slipping quietly through the crowd, eyes searching for me. My stomach twisted. She had come to see me tonight, even though she knew it was risky. I felt that familiar surge of desire and guilt all at once. My chest tightened, my palms sweated. I wanted to run to her, hide with her, but I couldn't. Not here, not with Ava laughing just a few feet away. I tried to focus, tried to keep my composure, but my mind betrayed me. Every glance at Lila sent shivers down my spine. Every slight brush of her hand against someone else felt like a knife. Then Ava came closer, her laughter softening into a tone that was intimate, searching. "Are you okay?" she whispered, as if she knew something, as if she had always known. I forced a smile. "Yes, just tired," I said, feeling the weight of the lie in every word. The night dragged on. Conversations blurred. Music played in the background, but I could barely hear it. All I could think about was the choice I had made and how fragile this balance was. And then it happened. Lila stepped closer, close enough that our hands brushed under the table. My body reacted before my mind did. My heart raced. Every nerve in me screamed that this was wrong, that I was about to make everything shatter. But desire doesn't wait for permission, and I let it pull me in. The contact was fleeting, a whisper of touch, but enough to make my breath catch and my thoughts scatter. Ava's eyes met mine across the room for a moment, and I knew she noticed. That look wasn't suspicion yet, not exactly, but it was something sharper, heavier, something I couldn't ignore. And at that moment, I realized the consequences of my choices were no longer hypothetical. They were here. They were immediate. And the part of me that wanted to give in, that wanted to run to Lila, was warring with the part of me that wanted to preserve what I still had with Ava. The tension was unbearable. My mind raced. Every lie I had told, every boundary I had crossed, every harmless step I had taken toward Lila suddenly became a trail of destruction I couldn't clean up. I wanted to escape, to disappear, to rewind everything, but it was too late. Every second brought me closer to the edge of being caught, closer to a truth that would hurt everyone, including myself. And in that chaos, I realized something about desire, about temptation, and about the dangerous thrill of forbidden connections. They don't care about morality, loyalty, or love. They only care that you want them. And in that moment, I wanted more than I wanted to breathe. But I also knew the night could end in ruin. I had to choose carefully. Yet every choice felt like a surrender. And so I sat there, pretending, smiling, navigating through the lies, the glances, the brushes of hands that shouldn't have touched, knowing that by the end of this night, nothing would be the same again. Have you ever been at a party, in public, and felt a secret thrill with someone you shouldn't? Would you take the risk or stay away? Comment risk or stay.